and welcome to Cherish TV. I'm Stacy and I'm your host today. We've got a great panel. We've got a male here in the hot seat, Dr. Matt. And we have a lot of questions that have been coming in. And one prominent question has been, why do I not have friends? And I think it's a good question to answer. So, Kayla, what would you say were some things that maybe you could speak into around that topic of friendship?
Definitely. I think it's very simple. I think if you don't have friends, the simple thing to do is ask yourself, would I want to be friends with me? You know, am I a friendly person? Am I a fun person? Do I want to be around someone like me? And, you know, one of our good friends always says, if you want friends, you have to be friendly. So, you know, to bring it all to one simple point, I think it's that.
And it's because it's sad. Sometimes you see people and they're walking around with this really sour look on their face and looking to the ground. I'm like, doesn't look like fun to me. I don't want to be friends with that. So what are some things that we can do to ensure, hey, we can build healthy relationships?
I think just being genuine with yourself. I think identifying the things that maybe, like she said, am I friendly or am I fun to be around? For me, I am the only child, so I kind of have this queenly mentality. I mean, some say, but I actually really realized, and I didn't realize it until I got older as a young adult, and then as a wife, and then obviously with friends, where I actually talk about myself quite a lot because I've had a wild life, and I feel like I've actually got a lot of things to say. I feel like I've got this exuberant personality that's interesting, and oh, you have a story about where you did this? Great. Guess what? I did that too. And it's this whole thing. Right, exactly. And so I got in this place where somebody actually addressed it and said, wow, you're kind of like prideful. I was like, prideful? No, I'm humble. But prideful was actually me just talking about myself. And so I actually had to listen. How many times, Ashley, have you been talking about I in this conversation? And it's a purposeful thing, even to this day, even now, even in conversation with, I mean, whoever, I have to think, even with my husband, like, okay, am I all about me right now, or am I being...
Yeah, so it's equal parts in that giving, because you're, you know, we all have that friend, don't we? That's the one-upper.
Here I am. Hi.
And so...
I'm a reformed one-upper too, Ashley.
I think a lot of us are, we've got strong personalities. There's a lot of reformed one-uppers here.
Can I say on that too, like, it is sometimes really hard when you feel less friend, more counselor. Have you ever had that before, where your friend comes to you, and we're as friends meant to be there for each other, but if it's every time you feel like you're in a session, like having to console, like if that season isn't over, there's seasons where you're that friend, but if it's constant, that can be a bit of a drain. You know, sometimes you need to actually go see a counsellor rather than using your friend to be the emotional sounding board for every thought, feeling that you have inside. You're not a diary, you're a friend. You're meant to be there to have fun and enjoy life with. And
so how do we model that? What does that look like?
Well, I think being a chiropractor, there's a lot of ladies that come through on the office, and I'm like therapy on the table. And, you know, it's been interesting because I'll hear them complain about, oh my gosh, I just don't have any friends. I moved to San Diego. I don't. And when I talk to them and I get to know them, they're actually really sweet people. And I just actually told this girl the other day, besides to talk about herself all the time, is, man, you look pissed off all the time. Your face, whatever that analogy is, you look like you're gonna kill someone. And I think if you just look in the mirror and start smiling more, because you're a beautiful person, and the more I've got to know you in my office, I actually can think, oh man, she's someone that I want to introduce to my wife.
So
but you gotta lose
language.
the face. So look in the mirror, smile, show that brilliant, you know, your teeth off. Don't look like my day is miserable and I'm gonna kill someone. You might get a friend.
And people don't even mean to do that sometimes, but they haven't looked in the mirror, so that's really good.
Exactly. Yeah, someone had to call me out on that one time way back in the day. They're like, are you just mad all the time? I'm like, no, I'm really happy all the time, and then show it on your face.
I'm just thinking.
Yeah, I am. I'm always just thinking. But I think the thing is that people find themselves isolated too, and kind of stuck in a hole, unable to get out because of this rabbit hole of insecurity. And maybe they've reached out and been let down, but just not to give up. Like, keep reaching out to those people and keep being the friendly, fun yourself and get secure in that place so that you can find some friends.
Would you say that confrontation, healthy confrontation and friendship is necessary? Because I'm finding women sometimes will bow out of conversations into isolation because they don't actually know how to say, you know what, you've been mean or you're not kind.
Mean girl. Actually, it's funny because when I moved here, I realized a lot of people in our culture down in San Diego are fun, but they have this sarcasm, and I didn't grow up with sarcasm, and so I actually would get really offended when people would be sarcastic with me when I first moved here because I grew up in a small town. We weren't sarcastic. And, my grandma taught me that sarcasm is candy-coated disrespect. And I thought it was that whole thing. I know, it's a little dramatic.
No,
Hello.
it makes sense, yeah.
But I say that
Thanks,
because
Grandma.
what you're saying is I would find myself being offended and then I'd be like all weird and I wasn't myself and then I'd be complaining because I had no friends or not deep friends, but they're having fun and joking, but they don't know that they offended me. Yeah. So I had to find a place like, oh my gosh, I'm not used to that. Can you like help me out, help me like relax and find that place to have those conversations. Otherwise, if I'm holding this chip on my shoulder, like, ugh, she's sarcastic about my hair, and oh my gosh, then I'm not gonna be genuine when I'm having friendship
so when
with her.
those conversations are happening, how do we actually just stop maybe sometimes and bring forgiveness in?
Definitely.
Where instead of
to.
just two people not getting along, it's how can I actually forgive what's happened and move forward? Because otherwise we get the whole syndrome of, oh, I can't be friends with women, so I'm just going to be friends with men. And that never ends up
Can
well.
we just talk about, it's okay to have conflict in friendship. It actually makes you good friends, not bad friends. The Bible talks about iron sharpening iron. If you've ever seen iron sharpen iron, it requires a lot of sparks. For both of the pieces of iron to be sharp, it's sparky. Friendship should feel sparky. We're making each other better. I don't agree with most things my friends believe sometimes. A lot of things, a lot of them. But it feels good. People, like, I want that. It's meant to be, it's meant to feel energy and fun to hang out with them.
And it brings a depthness to the relationships, because so many relationships these days are very shallow. But if you can get over a conflict together, exercise forgiveness, it brings a new depth to that relationship and a new place of relational conversation, and it brings so much to a healthy relationship if you can get over things.
What would you say, so sometimes to see healthy, we need to know what's unhealthy. So what does unhealthy friendship look like?
Because I feel like I've had some unhealthy friendships in my life. I think, going back to what we're saying, if we don't deal with the frustration, I feel like those unoffended wounds turn into gossip.
Yeah.
And gossip in women will kill you. It'll kill your friendships because you start to, and it starts out with that fake, like, oh my gosh, can you pray for me? Me and so-and-so are like, oh, she's
talking about the conversation instead of having the conversation.
And it turns into this fiery freaking, what do you call it, a forest fire that you cannot put out. So I think getting rid of gossip starts with not being offended and having those conversations when you are.
Can I make one comment on that? Because I notice, I think men have a little bit easier time. Hey, this is, because I introduce a lot of people in my practice. So I'll grab a guy and be like, hey man, you guys should get a coffee together, get a drink together, whatever, and it's easy. I don't see women doing it as much because I'll grab someone that's amazing in my practice. If Stacy comes in, I'll be like, hey, this is somebody new, just moved to San Diego, and she, I know, is super friendly, will engage. Most women, it's almost like they don't have each other's back, and I'll watch it. Like, I'll introduce them, I'm like, I know both of them separately. I've just introduced them. They both complain they don't have friends. I can both walk out in the parking lot and walk away. I'm thinking to myself, you could say one word and you guys have a lot in common, but it's just this awkwardness of hook a lady up. Like,
well, insecurity breeds, like, if one is insecure, and as women we don't want to admit that, but I think all of us on some level have some insecurities, and that's something that we have to face. We have to become secure in who we are and know that we've got a lot to give to one another instead of take away from one another. So I think, we need to learn how to be friends with one another and have equal parts investing into one another, be secure in who we are, so we can really have healthy friendships and relationships. So thanks so much for being with us today. We look forward to our next episode. Go ahead and get on social media, ask us questions, and we'd be happy to answer them.
Who can find a virtuous woman? For her worth is far above rubies. She seeks wool and flax, and willingly works with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She also rises while it is yet night, and provides food for her household. She girds herself with strength, and her lamp does not go out by night. She stretches out her hands to the distaff, and her hand holds the spindle. She extends her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches out her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household is clothed with scarlet. She makes tapestry for herself. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come.